There we go. All right. Demo time. I already forgot which pair which pair is going first.
Hmm. Oh yeah, we've had several different types of tickets this time around. So let's see. Shubeksha and I, we worked on, what was the first thing we worked on, Shubeksha?
We
The
worked
icon.
on icons, the one,
Icon buttons.
yeah, with issue number 15.
Shall we go, or what do you think?
Yeah, we can start with
Okay.
that.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess for demoing icon buttons, this is more of like something you want to see in the code base. So if you give me one moment, I will pull it up. But I can talk about it in the meantime. So we decided we wanted to make a component that would be reusable and flexible, so that we could have it uniform throughout the site and apply it to various components wherever it's appropriate. And we came up with the icon button, which we got some help from EJ coming up with how it would function. But we can visit the icon here. Let's see. Icon button. Where are you living? It's a component. There we go. So the icon button is going to take in um, it's going to take in an element wrapper as component and then actually return that component, that element. So which makes it flexible in terms of whether it's a button or a link, and or whether it's a custom element like the sign out button, for instance, or the sign in button. It also takes in props as with the spread operator, so that if someone wanted to provide a custom method or property for it, it has that capability. Shubeksha, is there anything else you'd like to comment on about this particular component?
Yeah, this is it. You pretty much summarized everything that we did, but we could show in the app itself, the demo.
Sure thing. Yep. So if I pull up the app here, whoop, oh, I can't because this is full screen. Sorry. There we go. Bring this in. And as you can see, there we go. Now, all of these elements are under the hood. They're the same type of component, the icon button component, which means that when we get to styling, it'll be much easier to have uniform styles across all the different components and buttons. And
We also moved the
yeah.
share button outside of the disclosure component.
Oh,
The other one, the on the view list page.
yes.
That button, yeah.
Yep, that's right.
With EJ's suggestions.
Right. Oh, and we
And
changed
also,
the tab behavior. So now you're able to tab to the trash can specifically, when before, I believe the problem was that it was a button. Do you remember what was causing the problem?
it was only as an icon. Now
Mhm.
we implement it as our own separate component using
Right.
icon
So now,
button. Yeah.
exactly. So now it's keyboard reachable.
Mhm.
And that basically comprised the what we did in our ticket. Any
So,
questions about that? Yes.
Megan, since you were traveling, do you have any questions about all the stuff, this cool stuff that happened behind your back?
Um, I guess, did you run into any challenges when you were doing any of this? Like migrating over components to be different components?
Yeah, we did. Are there any specific challenges that you want to talk about, Shubeksha?
I actually forgot. Like it's been so many tasks that we were doing,
We've done a lot.
and we've done a lot this week. So I think not particularly in this one.
Or any like main takeaways, things that you're like, oh, next time if we were going to do something like similar to this is where I would start, or what I would
Yeah,
do.
I found this pattern of like providing the rest of the props with a spread operator to be very interesting. I think this is something that was probably the most useful takeaway of this challenge, because it really kind of nailed home the idea of this being flexible and reusable, and unopinionated, especially. So doing it.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
Stacy. How you doing? We're just doing the demo for the icon button here. I was explaining how this structure of using the spread operator with the props and then putting them inside the opening tag here. This pattern really opens it up for reusability and for like being unopinionated, so that anyone who decides they want to implement this particular component has the ability to do whatever they really want with it. So it was cool to see that in action. We also talked about how you would handle doing that with a method, or like if, for instance, you had a default method that you wanted this component to perform, how we could also adjust it so that it can perform the default behavior in addition to some custom behavior provided by whoever's using it. So I thought that was probably the most interesting part for me.
Awesome.
Very cool. They worked very hard to tolerate me as I was trying to explain this pattern to them. So thank you all.
And thank you guys for helping out. Doribel kept me in the loop, but I wasn't able to like respond because of the internet access down there. Sometimes when I did get the message when I got home, it was already super late. So I just never responded to most of the messages, but I did. Of course, I'm back. I came back last night. So thank you guys. And thank you, Doribel.
You're welcome. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I guess I can share my screen. So yes, as Suveksha said, we've done a lot. So I'll try to remember this ticket because now I think we're two issues ahead. But this is the landing page that Stacy and I were issued with. And before it had its own route. And now we made it all part of home route, and we use conditional rendering to display certain icons and navigation options. We also incorporated a protected route because before I noticed that the landing page, there was just a lot of code saying, if not user, landing page, if not user, landing page. So to make the code more concise, we created a protected route with EJ's help. And this was very interesting to me because I did not think to use children as a prop. And basically what this is saying is we call on use OAuth to find the user object. And if it's not the user, we want the landing page. If it is the user, then we wanted to render all the nested children, which in this case would be, let me go to app, here. In this case would be view list, home, the /dashboard, and the sign out option. And so this is what the landing page looks like. Again, right now we see we're in localhost 3000. And this is the team page, but this is, sorry, a future issue ticket, which I have questions about. But then if you sign in, here we go, we have the pop-up message. Oh yeah, so here's the issue. But this is not part of the original issue ticket. So let me go back to home. So here we go. Now that I'm signed in, it's all working. This is our home /dashboard. And here's our managed list page. And I think that's it. I don't know if it's appropriate because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I do have a question about the issue that I'm working on right now. Since I don't know if it would be okay to ask.
What's that? Go ahead and ask, and if we need more time to talk about it, we can find some other time in the future to talk about it.
So the question, and this Suveksha, Nick, and I tried working on together. So right now, as you saw, when I go to developers, here's the developers page, which, by the way, I need a photo from you, Stacy, and possibly your portfolio link.
You're welcome to use the one in Slack.
I can download it. I tried.
Okay, so I'll send it to you.
Okay, so then when I sign in, we would like for the signer to go to view list, but it doesn't navigate there. So if we go to use off, how do I get there faster? Here we go. So this is the code that we came up with. And we commented it out because it didn't work. The reason why we think it didn't work, so what we did is that we brought const navigate equals use navigate, we made it global so that both sign out and sign in button could access it. And then we wrote out this, which if you notice mirrors sign out button, but because we have two functions inside of, we have a function inside a function with the sign in pop up, it just broke the code. So right now it's not navigating home. So that's the only piece that's missing for this ticket. And we're wondering if you had any thoughts. So again, this is code before, and this is what we wrote.
So right away, I can tell you that your problem is that you can't use a hook outside of a React component. It will not work to use navigate outside of a capital letter React component. So you can't call it globally like that.
Yeah, so we had it inside, and then it said you can use it twice. You can't. So because we had const navigate, and then here we have it again. So it also
it shouldn't. What do you mean by use it twice? Because they shouldn't conflict necessarily.
It did. So, well, I'll show you. Oops, undo.
It got me one. Like we are using the same const variable name. I think that's why it didn't work.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Don't they have their
just comment out the other one? That's kind of where I was going with it. Okay.
So yeah, so let me get my console because we saw the message and it said you cannot. Yeah. Okay, so I'm signed in and I'm still in developer, so it's not navigating, it's not working. So should I sign out and
try signing out and signing back in? Let's just see what happens.
I promise it didn't work. We did it. This is crazy.
I did see it. I remember. Maybe we were mistaken, like, as to why. Because I remember at the time thinking, like, shouldn't they have their own scope? Like, I don't understand why it wasn't working, but I did see it not work.
Yeah, I did see
It's-
it not working too.
Yeah, it said you can't create two variables with the same name. And so that's where we went the other route.
That must have just been because maybe it didn't register that sign-in button was commented out the first time. Because it could happen that your code was like one save behind. But sometimes these things happen. I'm sure Megan's also seen it where like you save something, but then the server is wrong about what's actually current. So these things happen. You know, happen to all of us. It'll happen to you again, unfortunately. I wish I could say it wouldn't happen to you again.
And then one last question. Thank you so much, EJ, for that. I have this, so this is a work in progress, but like I wanted to ask the team if they were okay with, well, so what I used was this information. We can switch the order. I just went in here and I grabbed like the URLs and blah, 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 and the developer information. But I don't know how you feel about React type animation. I kind of like it because it can be like, it can just send different messages or diverse messages to the visitor, the user. But yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna be mean. Don't use this.
No? Okay.
Motion like this can make someone sick, first of all. And you aren't giving the user a way to not see it. So this could actually be very harmful. Second of all, someone who is blind and relies on a screen reader won't get a real useful heading out of this information because it's a bunch of separated letters that are animated differently.
Okay.
Third of all, for consistency, you want to keep headings the same so that someone who is learning your app will be able to say, oh, I'm here on this page. This heading is familiar. This is not your fault. This thing is very popular, but it's actually very, very bad. And it's not your fault that you've seen it everywhere and you don't know that. But I'm telling you now, just so you know, these kinds of patterns are just kind of like fun, and no one really stops to think about why they aren't actually very good for usability.
Yeah, thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah. I think you could, since you want to have fun messaging, what you could do is have a nice heading and then have text that says, "We're glad you're here." All those things, like some plain paragraph text that has all those nice things you want to say as a greeting.
Is there a message that the team would prefer, just so that I can get this ticket done and move on to the next one? Like, I don't know, we hope we're happy you're here. I don't know, what were your thoughts for the rest of you?
Can we see the message that you have currently?
Yeah, they're right
Is
here. I
oh,
can't hear, so it's in the
it's
code.
like
so I don't
wait.
get the- Yeah.
I can't read.
Well,
Okay,
it won't
now I
make
can.
sense right now because,
happy
right,
here.
like this is, it only makes sense if it's like one after the other, but it
Yeah.
could be like, you know, we hope you enjoy Collab Shop, or meet the Collab Shop developers. I don't know. It's not. I
That's
was
good.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just meet,
Yeah,
meet
something similar, but in like full sentence, like when somebody reads it.
Okay. And then the other, sorry, last question I have is on the logo and the color coding. Like, I'm wondering if you guys are, if you all are okay with this. So that, because this requires that you pay, but if you take a screenshot, you can then go to remove background, which I, because I already used it, but one of y'all can use it and it removes the background, and there you have your, oh my God, I'm being recorded. Oh well. I'm sorry, I'm poor. I can't afford this, otherwise I would totally happily pay for it. But yeah, so what are you all's thought on this? Because I know it's important, it's the logo, it's for
Yeah, I mean, I like the logo itself. I suppose we're not really sure what our color scheme is going to be. So, I mean, I understand like you want to just get this part done. It's hard to say if the colors will match what it is that we decide on.
well, we did decide on the palette, right? Didn't we? It was
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, if
So-
if we're going with that palette, then I guess yeah, then I think that logo should be a good color. I guess it kind of it depends like what will the background be and stuff. Is there a way? I guess how much work will there be between us deciding on the color and then extracting the background from the
yeah,
logo
so
that it
you're
can be
only
put?
allowed once. So that's why I can't do it. So we only get one shot. So
Yeah.
that's why I'll just wait on this ticket and I'll issue it, but I won't submit a pull request until like we have an idea of what the background will look like. Because
Did you have to log into this? Like, do you have an account?
I do have
Okay, okay. I was just
Yeah.
trying to see like one shot. Did they just have a cookie that you could delete? Like, and then depending on how the sites are
One
built,
thing I could
sometimes you
do,
can do that.
I can make no promises, but Andrew, our founder, is trying to find good ways to use the Collab Labs funds, since the Collab Lab is shutting down and we can't keep the money that is in our bank account. So I could ask if he can pay for, or
That would
if
be amazing, because I would rather pay for this. I mean, it's the right thing to do, but I just can't afford it.
Mhm.
I
I
was
will
thinking
ask
of paying
after
for
our
it.
meeting, and then I'll let you know if that's something that he can. I don't know all the rules for how a 501(c) can like use their money, right? But if it's for the services of like building out the team stuff, I think it should be okay. But I'll let everyone know.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Do you want me to send you the link of
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Also, Doribel, if that doesn't work out, if you made the background a solid color rather than a gradient, I have like a free version of what's essentially, what do they call it? Not Illustrator, but Photoshop. So I would be able to change the background to whatever gradient we want. I'm sorry, not the background, the like that green color to whatever we want.
Oh, this
I could like extract the background and extract that if we can end up getting, access to the site. So there's a couple options. So
okay. All right, everybody. Thank you. So I think that's it. Any questions? So I'll remove the React type animation at some point.
Okay. Yeah, no rush. You all did plenty of work this week already. You can take a break and start working again, after your weekend. Okay, I think it's interview time, Megan. Did you get my message in Slack?
Oh crap, I wasn't paying attention.
Dang it, Megan. You had one job. We actually had several jobs, but you had one
I
job.
know. Okay. Here, vamp for me.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this totally improvised interview. While Megan gets set up, I'll explain what we're doing here, which is that first we're going to do a very quick mock behavioral interview where I ask her some questions about the job, and then we're going to transition right into Megan working on a live coding challenge with me. So your behavioral interviews will be a little bit longer. There's a longer script, but for the sake of time, we're cutting that first one into a much smaller segment because we think it's more valuable that you watch Megan sweat in the coding hot seat than that you watch her do interview Tetris with me. That's all I got, Megan. No, I'm kidding.
Woo! You did great. You did great.
I need like a piano piece to play, which is where that word comes from. I only learned recently. It's like a vamp is a segment of music that can be played
Oh
on
yeah.
a loop.
It just yeah.
You think that working in theater, I would know that, but I knew it instinctively without knowing what it was. Kind of
There
like
you
with any
go.
language, right? You don't know what the word means, you just know how people use it.
I was thinking about that earlier today. I saw like a Subway ad that said something about intrepid something, and I was like, I don't really know what that word means, but I do like I know how to use it.
I thought you were about
Okay,
to say that
open.
you saw the word vamp in a Subway ad, which would be
No, that
so
would
New
be
York.
wild. Okay. I'm opening. Where is this? This is on my desktop. Okay, I trust the authors. All right. Are we doing, I guess should I npm install this while we're
Go ahead and do that just to
okay.
just to see if that'll work, knowing your computer.
Me.
And then we can, once that's set off, we can start the script for the interview.
Loading. Okay. It's at least thinking about it. So we can
Okay,
do
we'll
we
call
can do
that
the
in.
other part for now.
Okay, and we're gonna start the scene. All right. Hi, Megan. Thanks for taking the time to interview with me. How are you today?
Good, great. How are you?
I'm here. I'm really excited to interview with you and
Me
to get to know you
too.
some more. These questions are a bit compressed because we're going to be doing 2 interviews in one. So lucky you, we're sprinting.
A bonus interview.
And based on your background and what I've learned about you from my peers, I've picked a couple questions I think would really be. I'm excited to hear about your answers from, and I
Awesome.
have to go look at them because I've forgotten them already. First, I would love to know what you're looking for in a team and what would make it difficult for you to be on a particular team.
Yeah, good question. So for me, I really love working with a team and working with other people. I think that I do best when in like the design and the planning stages of a project, there's time to collaborate with other people and like bounce your ideas off of each other. When it's like easier to get feedback and pivot, as opposed to like once you are at the end of a project and have people who like want to see something different. It's a lot harder to make changes down the line. So for me, like my ideal team would probably be something where there's a group of us who are working on maybe not exactly the same project, but at least parallel projects where we're like in a similar brain space where we're either all designing at the same time or we're like all developing at the same time. And then being able to do some like collaborative meetings where we're talking through what we want to see, making designs, scoping out the work, and then if we want to like split stuff up, I also really like pairing on things. So if teams are open to it, I like pair programming. I feel like that's a really good way to share context and move faster when it's time to hand things off to somebody else. But I can also like if if timing and resources don't allow for that, I'm also happy to like once the work has been scoped out, just run with that on my own and then check back in when I'm ready for feedback or when I want to get somebody else's take on that. I feel like there was a
Totally.
second part of the question,
There
but I
was, and
don't
I just
remember
threw it all
what
at you at once, so I'll say it again. Sorry.
Okay,
The second
cool.
part was, is there anything that would make it difficult for you to be on a team?
Yeah, difficult. I think I probably like the opposite of what I said. Like if I'm just sent into a silo completely alone, like I can do
Mhm.
it, but something that I've been working on is like in the past I've gotten stuck with the analysis paralysis, and so like trying to just pick a direction and move forward with it in the past has been challenging for me. But something that I've been working on is, you know, when I get stuck at a point like that, checking in with the team to be like, hey, these are the different options that I'm considering. Do you have a preference? And if not, then I'll just pick one and run with that. But I think, yeah, like being able to have other people that I can do like a quick gut check with is really important for me. So not having that is hard.
I really like that answer. Thank you. Both those answers are very good. Thank you. I have so many questions I could ask you, but I'll do one that's not even on my script because I want to hear from you. You know, since we're hiring for a developer educator, I would love to know how would you explain what the most important part of your job is to somebody who doesn't know what developer education like is about?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think for me, something that I like the pattern that I have noticed in a lot of resources, like learning resources that people build that I personally struggle to consume has been the lack of context. Like I think that's context is like the most important thing, I think, for me, of just like being able to know how much information to give people so that they can get up and running, and to have an understanding of like, why do I care about learning this in the first place? Because some people don't give you any context. And so you're like, here's this documentation page for this tool that I don't know what it is. I'm trying to learn how to use it, but they haven't told me what it is. But then on the flip side, sometimes you get people who like do too much context, and then you're just like, when are we gonna get to the point where we're actually building anything?
Totally.
So I think finding that balance is like the most important thing for dev education, I think.
You know, something you said gave me this thought just now, but some docs are kind of like a manual, like an owner's manual for someone who's already bought in to the thing
Mm, yeah.
that you're documenting. And it's like the manual assumes it's a manual. It assumes you know exactly why you're here and what you're looking for, as opposed to trying to like court you as a user, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Does that sound
And
like, is that like a reasonable metaphor? I don't know.
yeah,
I'm
no,
just a
totally.
developer.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And because I think I wrote a whole like blog post, like talk about this, about how one of the big challenges of documentation is you're building one tool that needs to serve a variety of different audiences at different like levels of understanding, from like technical understanding or just like understanding of your particular project or domain. And so there's like a bunch of tricks that you can do to try and give everybody what they want, when they want it. But yeah, it's definitely a hard problem to do. Job security.
Exactly. Well, as much as I would love to go through all these questions with you, I think we'll move on to the technical challenge, which you should already have.
Okay,
Knock wood.
let's do it.
Let
Let me, should I share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
There are a few discrete requirements for the success of the code in front of you. But more than getting any of that done, I just kind of want to see how you think through things, how you would explain problems to yourself or to me, and how you work on any of these requirements that are in the README, but no pressure to like get it done a certain way or to be polished or whatever.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess okay, so npm install worked. So the first thing, I'll start with the README. I guess what is this? What is this app?
If you go ahead and run npm start, it should present itself to you. Let's just see.
Cool. Okay.
There you go.
Quantity input
So,
component. Okay, does this do anything yet? No. Build a React component to input quantity. Okay. Okay, so then this is the list of requirements, things to build out. Plus button, increments by 1, minus button decrements by 1. If no number is entered, the default value is 0. Okay. I guess, do you want me to do these in order or?
No, they aren't numbered in priority. They're numbered in like the things that should happen. I could have put a bulleted list there to make it clearer.
Okay.
So my bad.
Sweet. Yeah, no. I was just thinking like this one sounds the easiest, changing the default value. So I was like, well, I can start there. Okay, and then the count cannot fall below 0. Okay, so let's start with number 3 then, because that seems like That seems like it should be easiest. So let's see what we have in here. We've got the app. Okay, so this is our quantity input. I'm assuming I will be able to just change this to 0, but before I do that, I want to poke around in here and see what this does. Okay, so default value, input default value. Okay, great. So I'm going to start with that one then. Where did it go? App. So I'm going to change this one to 0, and then this should reload.
Oh, did it not?
Unless...
Ooh, that might be a flaw in the setup here. Oh,
Okay. Well, here, we'll debug.
yeah, what happens if we restart the server?
Good
I'm just
question.
curious.
Kill it and start again. Whoops, that's the wrong button.
If this doesn't fix it, by the way, we don't need to worry about it. Oh, okay. I don't
Yay!
know why reloading didn't work. That's a little concerning.
Well, here, we could try
If-
changing something else and see
Yeah,
if...
let's just see. If it doesn't work, then you have my... Oh, that worked.
Okay,
What the heck?
maybe it's something about state. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know.
maybe.
Let's see. What do we got? Default value. Well, this doesn't have state, so...
Oh, you know what? You know what it is? It could be the default value is like the prefix default is a special case for some of React's like mappings to native HTML attributes. So it could be that that doesn't change as readily as other things do. I'm just
Interesting.
spitballing. I'm
This
saying
one?
words. Yeah, yeah. Like the word value and the word the prop value and the prop default value behave slightly differently in terms of how React does things. It's a whole can of worms, and I don't want to bore you with that. Let's
Here,
just see what happens if you change that. I'm curious.
right? For science.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Well, we learned something.
Yeah. You're gonna want to put that back to default value though, because otherwise the rest of the code you're targeting probably won't work.
Okay, fair. All right. Will that do anything?
I would call
Okay.
that checked off as far as our goals. So that's number
Yeah,
3
good
checked
enough.
off. We know how
When
to
they
turn
start
it
it.
to 0. Yep.
Okay, so that's one thing. Let's see. Back to our list. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, plus button increments the counter by 1. So I'm assuming this button is in here. Okay, so I need to add some kind of on-click handler to this. Oops. Oops. Okay, this is gonna do something. So I want, well, so I guess now I'm gonna have to add state probably because I need a state, like I need a way to keep track of what this current number is.
I also want to call out in case you're like really zeroed in where you are, there are some stub functions you can fill out already on this in this component. You could use them, not use them, whatever you want to do.
Oh, up
like
here?
lines 1 through 5. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, on change, on blur.
If you're like, why is this here? You can ignore it. If you want to use
Okay,
it,
great.
you can. Totally up to you.
Cool. Yeah. So my first thought, I was thinking like, okay, well, the on click, I know I'm going to need something that happens when the button is clicked. But then my second thought was like, okay, but maybe I need 2 function. Like, it seems like if I had more time, I could write one function that handles increment or decrement, but for ease of time, I would have something that's like const handle increment that gets attached to one.
Let's just do that. Why don't you just do that? And then if
okay.
we have time to generalize it, we can do that.
Love it. So we've got handle increment, handle decrement. Okay, and then these I want to put in here. Handle, which one is this? Up is increment. Handle increment, and then this one on click. Handle decrements. Okay, and so then this is where I was thinking like, oh, we probably need some way to keep track of the state because inside of here is where, or actually, I guess I want these to be inside of my component so that they have access to the state variable. Because I want to have like a state variable that keeps track of the current value, and then in here I would do something like set state. Well, I guess you would have like a previous value. How does this work? I think this goes in. well, here, we'll get to this in a second, but then this would be something like set state, and then it would be like current value plus 1. I know that there's a way to get the previous value out of state,
Mhm.
but I don't know. Am I allowed to Google things?
You are. However, how if I could just like unstick you from this line of thinking for just a second, how would
Yeah.
you prove that these are wired up? Like that these handlers work if you click on a button? Like without having to
Sure.
wire up all
Yeah,
the
to
state stuff,
start
how
with
would you just verify it
that,
yourself?
so I would probably just stick a console login here.
Hmm.
Increment. And then in
Yay.
here, decrement. Ooh, spelling. Okay, and then this function should get called when this button gets clicked. So
Mhm.
let's open the console.
Let's see if those work.
For science. Whee!
Yay. Okay. And then to spare you the time of Googling,
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and set up some state hooks for those values that you want to change.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. What do I want? I want, I guess we'll just call it current value, and then set current value. Use state. Well, and actually, I guess here we could. Well, here we passed in the default value. Let's use that.
I think you might also need to import the state hook.
For sure, for sure. Import use state from React.
Yay, that's one error solved.
Whee! Okay. So now we've got this state variable. So now in here,
You were asking how you would read the previous value while setting a new one,
yeah,
right?
I know there's like a previous
Yeah.
argument, but I can't remember if it's if it's inside of set state or if I pass it into. It can't be passed
Right.
into the function. How would they? How
No,
would
it can't be
know?
passed into the function. What you can do is if you pass to set state, so like if you call set current value as if you're going to put a number in there, if you put a value like 2, that sets whatever value you provide, right?
Right.
But if you pass a function in, the argument of the function is the previous state.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I remember that you want to do this because like I could just do like current value. Whoops. Current value plus 1. But I know that there's something weird, like because I think it's because set current value is asynchronous. So you're not guaranteed like what value that current value will still be what you expect it to be like by the time that this function actually runs. But I couldn't remember the exact syntax. So thank you. I appreciate that. Previous value, and then this. Okay, so then the body of this function, I want to return current value, or no, not previous value plus 1. Right? Increment up. Cool.
So I think we can be pretty confident that that works correctly because it's a very common React pattern. How do we move on to making this do? I mean, it's doing something, but we're not showing the user any results at this point, I don't think.
Let's see. Is this going to do anything? Yeah, so let's see. If we use the state. Oh, okay. So the state, so you want to like re-render the component. And my first thought was like, well, it should re-render because the state has changed now, but because we're not actually using the current value. So now we need to come in here and instead of rendering default value. Oh, wait, now my names are getting confusing. So this default value should use the state variable instead. So now
let's see what happens if you do that.
Yeah, when this.
So this goes back to what I was saying about how the default prefix is slightly different than the traditional value attribute you might see. You can actually use them together. You can use default value and value together.
This will be current value. Huzzah! That's something.
Okay, that's great.
This one doesn't work. So I have to do the other button.
Yeah, we haven't wired that one up yet, and you don't need to do that right now. I trust that the logic would be very similar. For want of time, I would like you to sort of walk me through verbally how you would allow the user to type to set the value.
type to set the value. Can you say more about that? So like
Yeah, like if they
when,
wanted to delete the number 9 and type in 20, how would you wire that up so that you can respect the user's type that they've typed in 20 and that should be the current value?
yeah, so here, I guess, what does this do? So this input doesn't do anything
Mm-hmm.
now. So I guess maybe this is where this on change happens. Because I would want to have something where it's like, okay, when the user types something in here, take the value that they've typed and like, well, I guess, because like at some point you want to do like some checking to make sure that they're typing in numbers and not letters and stuff. And then you want to do some checking that's like you want to update the state to match what value is in here. So probably there would be something like in this, I would add an on change handler to this input field that checks to see. Well, okay, so that this then would trigger whenever the value of this input changes, right? Like when the user types something in here. And so then I would want to, when the user types something, check to make sure that it is a valid like number that can be typed. And then if it is, then change the state. So do like another set current value to set the state to be the number that they typed in. I'm not sure what on blur does. Is that like when you leave focus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's when you would want to update the state, is like when they're typing things in. So the on change handler would be like, do the validation to check and see what, like whether they're typing numbers or like letters. So only let them input valid characters. And then on blur, maybe that's when I would do the like, okay, they've left the number that they have in there is probably the legit number that they want. Now let's update the state, just so that you're not updating the state every single time they press a key.
Right. And I mean, I think you could argue for either sort of method of it working. If you wanted to set the state on change, you could. If you wanted to set it on blur after user leaves, you could. It comes down to, I guess, what you're working on with your team. And if we had more time, I would ask you to sort of like how you would sort of adjudicate that decision with your team. Like how would you weigh that together? But hopefully we have more time to talk in the future.
Woo!
I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Had a good time.
And that's it. Does anyone have anything they want to say to Megan about her wonderful performance? We need room to bow on these cameras.
As I sit on the floor.
Yeah, great job, Megan. That was fun.
Yay.
Thank you for letting me push you around through the.
It's good. It's good. Well, and it's like, I don't know. I always just try to remind myself, if they're a good interview, they want you to do well. So they'll help you if they can. And if they can't, then they'll say that. I'm like, that's okay. But you can always ask.
Yeah, I particularly liked the talking through the thought process. It was easy to follow where you were going, what you were thinking at the time, tracing out the trajectory of, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, and here's how I plan to get there. And also I liked like a minor detail that I enjoyed was the first thing you did, the default value. You saw that there was like a default value of 1, and you're like, well, I'm assuming I want to change this, but let's take a look around. So it's, you kind of like, become familiar with what the code base is before you start just like adjusting values all over the place. So probably a good sign.
Yeah.
I also like that Megan was like, I see a low-hanging fruit. I'm going to do that one first to get a win, to get some endorphins out of this.
Yeah, same. I saw that, and well, my thought process, how she was going to do and what she was going to do next. So I really like that. And also like when they was given the requirement and you ask question first before tackling to do anything. And I learned, that's the part I learned, like ask questions before doing anything.
I think, Megan, you do a very good job of both working and externalizing, talking and chewing gum. It's very hard to do. It's a very important skill for all of us to practice. So any other thoughts for Megan besides just general praise and flowers?
And I will say, like, I think that for me, because there were moments where I felt like, oh no, what am I gonna say? And I think that's part of where the verbalizing your thought process helps, because it also gives you, it slows everything down so you have more time to be like, because when EJ, when you were like, oh, how would you do this to handle the user inputs? I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, okay, let's just like start at the beginning and let's like think about what's the first question? How would I answer that? What's the second question? How would I answer that? So I don't know if it showed at all, but at the beginning I was a little panicked of like, oh God.
I think that one thing you learn over and over again is that problems that are presented to you are often three problems in a trench coat, and you have to like learn what those comprising problems are and learn to ask about those or solve those, and then magically you've solved the entire thing. Yeah, great job. Any other thoughts or questions about what Megan's mindset was, what mine might have been as an interviewer, since we're all scared of those people?
Well, I will comment. It didn't seem intimidating, but it didn't seem that way. Megan did great. Of course, you, EJ, as an interviewer, did well. But I would love to have seen like the first, because this is where I stumble sometimes. It's like when they ask, tell me a bit about yourself. I'm not sure how long to go, how to approach that, or what my elevator speech should be, So this is why I stumble. And from just that, tell me about yourself, then I think the whole interview just goes, womp, womp. Well, in my head, it probably does, but then they did, but yeah, but you guys did great though. I did like when you were doing, of course, the coding, like, I've heard in the past, you say what you're gonna do, you speak your thoughts, and that way you're able to like have a clear mindset as to, your approach is gonna use. But I think just from like, I get nervous just being in front of the camera sometimes. That's why my camera is off most of the times. And and just having to say, tell me about yourself and responding to that, I think, or maybe I'm overthinking things too much sometimes. So maybe that's what, gives me bad interview sessions, I would say.
Yeah, if you want, we can practice sometime with that question, because it's a very hard question. It's like, who are you even? What have you done in your life? What's relevant? The answer to like how long to talk about that question is kind of really context dependent, unfortunately. It depends on how much time you have, how much the interview is geared toward learning about you versus kind of like priming you to be a developer or like priming you for technical questions. I've had some interviews where you can wax about yourself for a long time if you want to, and somewhere it's like you get 2 seconds, make it count, and it really depends on the vibes at hand. But I would say it's helped me generally to assume I have one elevator's ride worth of time, and then to operate from that standpoint. And then if they want to hear more about me because I'm a delight, I can expand from there. But being committed to a longer monologue and then not having time is way more debilitating than having some quick points that I could choose to expand on if I wanted to.
Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure. It's also something that you can ask them, right? Of like, oh, like how much detail do you want me to go? Like how far back do you
How
want
much
me
do
to
you care
go?
about me? How much do you want to know?
Yeah. Just to get, because sometimes, like EJ is saying, sometimes I've had interviews where it's like deeper in the process and they truly are like, start at the beginning. Who are you? What were you like in college? And I'm like, okay. But then sometimes they're like, yeah, just tell me what you're up to these days.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want, maybe soon we could like model how we would respond to that question. Each of us, the mentors could take turns grilling each other. That might be fun.
For sure.
Yeah, I would love to have
Yeah,
that
we'd
session.
love to hear about you.
Because I'm not like in my head, I don't know. Do I say it like say, I went to school, learn coding? Do I mention all of those things? Like, like you said, a short time span is like give the important details of, of yourself, and then boom, I'm like, but what do I say?
Yeah, who am I even? I don't know. This is my method, and I'm not saying it's foolproof, but it really helps me. If like what I do, and it really depends again on the vibe, is I will open by saying, "Oh, geez, who am I even?" Like I'm trying to show them that I'm chill, that I'm like not too buttoned up, that I'm gonna say something a little bit off, like weird or like not totally rehearsed because I don't know what I'm gonna say. So typically my response is always, "I have no idea who I am, but here's what I can say." And that really depends on how fearful you are of the interviewer and the vibe of the company. But generally, I find that making jokes in general, even if no one laughs, it helps me because I'm being funny. I think I'm funny, and that makes me better at the interview because I've relaxed a little bit by sort of humanizing myself and the other party. But also, like, as long as you say, I think if it matters, you can say what you care about. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing web development because I care about doing this, or because I want to serve users, or I love solving these kinds of problems, or I like your company mission and things like that. So if you're not sure how far back in the past to go, one thing you could do is start closer to the present and then start going backward if you think you have more time. So I'm here because I want to do this because of these reasons I care about. And I got here because can come later if you have more time. And then I got there because I was in college. And then when I was 5 years old, I saw a computer for the first time can be like your final step if you really want to go that way. Over time, I think you'll find the formula that works for you.
Nice, awesome. I like that. Start, with the present and then move back if you, just expand. Thank you.
Yeah, I would. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is how I've kind of assumed. Like the pitch, the like tell me about yourself pitch is more like a chance to share your story and talk about like where your passions are, or like generally what kind of person you are and how that would contribute to the workplace, rather than like your bona fides, because they have your resume right there. So if they're like, tell me about yourself, and you're like, I know React and JavaScript and
exactly
Postgres,
it's your chance to leap off of the resume into being a full person. You don't want to be up yourself necessarily, but it's also your chance to say, I'm here, you're welcome. Here's why you want me to be on your team. I think if you, again, I know that all of you are very humble and thoughtful people, but if you can approach from the mindset of, I am a good hire, they do want to have me, that can make you the whole experience different for you psychologically and in terms of like the impact you have on your interviewers. I was asking Megan, and I know we're low on time. I was asking Megan about her interview for her current job, just because I don't necessarily know what goes into the interview cycles of like being a technical, developer educator. And Megan, was there like, how did you handle like the whole approach of like, I'm here, you're welcome? What did you do you think?
I think, well, for me specifically, I think the deeper I've gotten into my career, the more I have seen that like there are not that many people who have like the education expertise and the technical expertise. So that automatically is like, okay, I feel like I know both of those worlds decent enough that I can talk shop with people about them. And that in and of itself, I think gives me the like ego boost to be like, all right, I am what you're looking for. Either you'll see that or you won't. And that's not my problem if you don't.
Yeah. And obviously there are real stakes at hand for, living in capitalism. But I think if you can get to that point, I am what you're looking for, and it's up to you. It's your problem if you don't. It doesn't change the real impact of not getting a job and how that makes you feel. But for the most part, like all of you are here because you are very capable of doing this job. And it helps to be committed to that belief that you already can have the job, and it's their fault if they don't see it. You can make mistakes, you will make mistakes, we all do, but I think it helps to try to move away from the mindset of you like groveling for a penny outside on the street like a Dickensian orphan, and into, I'm here, you're welcome, when is my first check coming? We are at time, but I do want to give a little bit of space for any other questions that anyone might have for setting up next week, since we stole some of your time to do theater. Do we have any questions for going into next week?
I have a comment. I apologize, I forgot to check with everyone before merging, but I did install a new package, so I'll put it in. I'll put it on Slack, but just in case you're pulling and you're like, why is the code not working anymore? We now have React Toastify in the mix. So I'll give you the install command. So
if we keep doing this, I think we're going to make a whole breakfast out of all the packages that we should just keep finding more food packages to install. So I will say next week, we will start trying to schedule your interviews. Technically, we're meant to have some space between these two interviews, but we can compress them or space them out as to your choice. I can give you the challenge that I gave Megan as take home for practice. In addition to the assignment, if you want both of those things, I have more challenges I can give you. I'm so full of challenges. I can grill you on and have you practice technical stuff all day. But next week we'll be reaching out to you to schedule interviews. You're meant to have both the behavioral interview and the technical interview. So the things that you saw Megan do, but more time for each of them. And we are happy to set aside time to go deeper into either kind of interview. And like I said, to go into how we would answer these questions. If you want to, just let us know. I'm sure that if Jenny were here, she'd say the same thing. We're happy to make as much time for you as we can for these things because they're very important. But also, please be mindful of how much time you're spending on all your software engineering stuff that you're doing with us, so that we don't, take up 20% of your life, or all that. All the time we've already been taking up is enough. I can monologue with this for a long time, and I'll stop. Any other questions or concerns about going into next week? Do you
My
have
other
things? Go
question
ahead.
or concern is just to Megan. So sorry that I missed you when you're in town.
Oh,
Um,
no
uh,
worries. You were also
I hope you
traveling
and
too.
Jenny had a blast, like meeting
Yeah.
up with each other.
It's a shame we
Nice.
couldn't all be there. Well, someday. Let's all just go to New York and let's hang out with
Right.
Easy. But we feel good to go, everyone. We feel like we have things we can do. Do we need help with like prioritizing stuff, or do we have, is our slate pretty clear?
Yeah, what are we thinking in terms of, so we all just grabbed some tickets, but do we have the next round of tickets available, or should we get together again, or just discuss through Slack the next round, I guess. I know we're at overtime here, but I can't remember because we've been so busy this week.
Well, I'm hoping maybe we could meet together and you guys could catch me up, and then we could, distribute, because I've been gone.
Sure. Yeah, we'll start a thread and just kind of and I don't know if you've seen the Google Doc. We shared a Google Doc that
Yeah, there's a
a lot
table.
of
It's
ideas
so
floating.
organized. I'm very
Yeah.
impressed. I don't know if you saw that, Megan. They've got tabular data for what needs to happen
Nice.
and when.
I'll have to go check it out.
But one more thing I want to add is we can make this decision together over the course of the week. But Sarah, if I remember correctly, sorry, Sarah, if I'm wrong and you're watching this somehow, Sarah said she would have time to meet with you next weekend if you want to. It's up to you how you want to use your time. And I'm sure she has more flexibility over the course of this coming week or even during the weekday next week. But I figured it would be easiest for us, since we already have a scheduled meeting on Saturdays, to spend time with her then. So just let me know how we feel about that, especially as time goes on. If you want more time to talk about the project and things like that, we can do that instead. But I would love for you all to meet her if we get the chance to arrange that. So just let me know.
I will
That's
also
okay.
I
Fine for
will
me.
also add that next Saturday is our last team meeting, all of us, and then there will be one more like all collabby like demo day. They're still scheduling when it is. I'm not sure if it's going to be next weekend or the weekend after that. But yeah, just to set expectations about how much time we have left together.
I know it's almost over. It's so wild.
Right?
Stacey, were you to say something? Sorry, I think we cut you off.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I said next weekend is fine. It's for Sarah to join us. I'm okay with that. I would love to meet her, and
Awesome. I will let her know, and I'll let you know if we have any other things come up. But I'm very excited for you to meet her, to meet someone who maybe you can grill without being too friendly with them, so that you can feel like you're meeting a professional, not whatever Megan and I are. We're just here. All right, everyone. If we feel good to go, I think we can call it here. Thank you again, as always, for spending your Saturday with me. If you need any help, please let us know. Please be so noisy. Please at us. We'll do what we can. Otherwise, we will see you on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Bye.
Bye.